Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to discuss about queues using linked list in data structures with C programming. So in this, I'm going to discuss about introduction to queues and abstract data types like enqueue, dequeue, display, peek, isEmpty, and isFull. So in the previous video, I already discussed about circular queues. So please watch it before watching this video. So there are total four types of queues. Queues, circular queues, priority queues, and double-ended queues. So in this particular video, I'm going to implement queues using linked list. So in this, we will consider two pointer variables, front and rear. Initially, whenever the queue is empty, the front and rear pointer variables will be of null values. So if you want to insert a new value into the queue, the rear variable, pointer variable gets updated. Similarly, whenever we want to delete a value from the queue, the pointer variable front gets updated. So queues are a list of elements where we can insert values in one direction and remove them in another direction. For example, let us consider we have an empty queue. So front and rear will be of null values. If you want to insert a value 10 into the queue, the front and rear pointer variables gets updated to 10. Again, if you want to insert a variable 20 into the queue, then the rear pointer variable corresponds to the node 20. Similarly, if you want to delete an element from the queue, the element 10 gets deleted, and now the front pointer variable corresponds to the node 20. So you will understand clearly in the example. So there is only one condition to check whether the queue is full or not. So initially we will create a node and check whether that node is null or not. If it is null, the queue is full. Else the queue is not full. Similarly, we have only one condition to check whether the queue is empty or not. If front corresponds to null, then the queue is empty. Else the queue is not empty. So the queue is implemented using FIFO principle, which means first in, first out. So this is the brief introduction about the queues. So now let us look at the various abstract data types in queues. First one is enqueue. This is used to insert a new element at the rear end of the queue. So the second data type is dequeue. It removes and returns the element from the front of the queue. So the front node gets deleted. The third one is display. It shows all the elements currently which are present in the queue from front to rear. Similarly, peek. It returns the front element from the queue without removing it. Similarly, isEmpty. It checks whether the queue is empty or not. Based on that, it will return true or false. Similarly, isFull. It checks whether the queue is full or not. Based on that, it will return true or false. So in the queues using linked list, the queues can be implemented until the memory is exhausted. So now let us look at the simple example. So initially let us consider we have a circular queue of elements 10, 20 and 30. The front corresponds to node 10 and similarly rear corresponds to node 30. Whenever we want to insert an element, that is whenever we perform an enqueue operation, the new element 40 gets updated, gets inserted, and now the rear pointer variable corresponds to the last node, which is 40. Similarly, if you want to delete an element from the queue, the element 10 front element gets deleted and the front gets updated so that the front corresponds to the node 20. So whenever we perform a display function, the all the elements in the queue gets displayed from a front to rear. Similarly, whenever we call the peek function, the front element in the queue gets displayed, that is 10. So whenever we call an isEmpty function, it checks whether the queue is empty or not. So if front and rear corresponds to null, it returns true. Else, it returns false. So whenever we call the isFull function, it checks whether the it checks whether the queue is full or not. Based on that, it will return true or false. So now let us execute the C program using linked list in the C compiler. So this is the C program for implementing queues using linked list. So initially, I defined the structure format. It consists of two nodes. First one is the data field and second one is the address field. This address field stores the address of the next corresponding node. And also I have three pointer variables, front, rear and temp. So after that, I defined the functions enqueue, dequeue, display, peek, isEmpty and isFull. So inside the main function, I used while loop. So if I enter 1, that is enqueue operation, it checks whether the queue is full or not. So if it is full, it displays that the queue is overflow. So if I enter 1, it checks whether the queue is overflow or not. Else, I will scan the input element and then perform enqueue operation for that. So if I enter 2, it checks whether the queue is empty or not. So if it is not empty, it dequeues one element from the queue. So if I enter 3, which is display function, initially it checks whether the queue is empty or not. If it is empty, it displays as the list is empty. Yeah. Else, it performs display function. If I enter 4, it checks whether the list is empty or not. If it is not empty, it displays the peak value. Similarly, if I enter 5, it checks whether the queue is empty or not. If it is empty, it displays that the queue is empty. Else, it is the queue is not empty. Similarly, if I enter 6, it checks whether the queue is full or not. Based on that, it will display that the list is full or the list is not full. If I enter 7, it exits from the program. So now let us look at the enqueue function. So inside the enqueue function, I have one input parameter. So initially, I create an empty node using malloc function and store it in a temp variable. Temp is a pointer variable. And then I will scan the temp of data and, and assign a temp of link to null. So if a front is null, then the front and rear variables corresponds to the temp. Else, the rear variable gets updated. Similarly, in the dequeue function, I will store the front of data in the variable val. And then I will assign a temporary pointer variable to that front node. I will increment the front node. After that, I will delete the temporary variable using free. And then return val. So inside the display function, initially I will set a temporary variable for the front element. So in the while loop, I will display each element until the temporary variable gets null. So inside the peek function, I will return the front element, that is front of data. So inside the isEmpty function, I will check whether the front is null or not. Based on that, I will return true or false. So inside the isFull function, I will create an empty node and store it in a temp pointer variable. So if the temp pointer variable is null, it will return true. Else, it will return false. So this is the C program for implementing queues using linked list. So I will paste this program in the description. So please take it from the description. So thank you for watching this video till the end. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. If you have any doubts regarding this queue using linked list, or if you want to provide any feedback, please comment below. Thank you for watching.